Hey guys, Sachimaru here with a Naruto novel review of Kakashi's story, Lightning in the Frozen Sky. Uh, so pretty much this takes place 1 year after the events of the original story, and Kakashi's getting poised and ready to take over as Hokage. And pretty much he's very indecisive on what he wants to do. He wants to do it, but at the same time he doesn't. He's very conflicted about what's happening and everything. So the story starts off with Naruto going to capture a man by the name of Garyo, who's the leader of this army who's causing problems in the Land of Waves. Now, if you remember, the Land of Waves was from their very first mission, when they ran into Zabuza and Haku, and the battle and the building of the Great Naruto Bridge. They're causing trouble in the Land of Waves, and Naruto ends up capturing Garyo, but runs into a very strong ice user. Haku is also a strong ice user, as you guys know. So he ends up getting away, capturing Garyo, and then we go back to Kakashi. And Kakashi ends up going to the Land of Waves because, since there's technologically advanced in this story, the Land of Waves in secret are launching their first ever, I wouldn't say airplane, but flying device. It's more of a hot air balloon, a blimp-like thing. It's called the Tobi Sachimaru, and it's pretty much a flying ship. And so Kakashi goes there to just oversee it because the Land of Waves is doing it in secret, but since this army is creating issues, they hired Konoha in secret to plant some ninja on the ship just to, make sure everything goes along okay. But as Kakashi's watching this, he notices a hooded figure moving towards the ship. Well, actually, prior to that, Kakashi's standing there, and as people are getting on, Kakashi's standing there with Tazuna, which is the old man from their first mission, who was the builder, who built the Great Naruto Bridge, and then that younger boy, Inari. Naruto ends up having a conversation. It's very nice to, bring back these really old characters, because they did show up once in the War arc for a very short amount of time. No, it was after the Pain arc when they were rebuilding. They ended up coming by because Konoha hired them, or they came to help. But it was nice seeing them for that short time, but reading it about it was also pretty cool, with Naruto and Inari talking. But as Kakashi's standing there with Tazuna, a woman, very beautiful woman, ends up running. She has a ticket to get on. She trips and falls into Kakashi's arms. And Kakashi, pretty much, it's love at first sight. I don't remember the exact wording, but if you read the story, you will understand. Kakashi up to this point has a lot of issues, and we all want him to have a happy ending. Besides becoming Hokage. So, but we'll get into that whole romance later on, and who that is really. That woman, she plays a greater role. So she ends up going along her way, and then Kakashi sees a hooded figure, ends up running. They end up getting in a scuffle. He ends up knocking the person out, and here it's Rock Lee. And Rock Lee spills the beans and how he pretty much got Might Guy on board. So Kakashi hops on the ship. Ends up finding Might Guy, but here while they're up in the Raptors, they see members from this terrorist-like army placing bombs and everything. So they know they're in the thick of it, so they go into the air ducts and make their way to the main, chamber, the ballroom or whatever you want to call it. And they see, people are being crowded up in the middle and everything. And pretty much that they know they're in the thick of it. Might Guy can't really fight because his right leg, I believe it was his right, is, shattered. He can't use ninjutsu, obviously, taijutsu user only, so it's very difficult for him to get around, but, he managed to crawl through the vents with Kakashi. And they see these people being herded up, and they see this big dude, who's the leader of them and stuff, and they end up freezing people, at first it seems like it's this man, but it's not, but we'll get into that more. Well, they end up spotting Kakashi and Guy in the vents. They run. Kakashi falls into... They end up splitting up. And Kakashi goes into the laundry room or kitchen, one or the other. And he ends up bumping into that woman again. You know, they have a conversation and everything. He summons his ninja dogs, Pakun and company, to go get the bombs, the paper bombs that are set up throughout the Tobi Sachimaru. And he ends up going back in because they say they actually send a message to Konoha saying it's like every 3 minutes they're going to kill a passenger until they release Garyo from Hozuki prison, or Hozuki Castle, which is a prison. And I believe that's the same exact castle from the one Naruto movie. I believe it was Blood Prison, the 7th movie, I want to say. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure one of you guys know. I've seen it, but it's been so long. But I believe that's Hozuki Castle. That was in that movie, too. And Kakashi, you know, not having his Sharingan anymore, can only really, like, use taijutsu, and he has another move that it's the only move he uses, you know, besides fighting with kunai and stuff, is Violet Bolt, which is pretty much like a substitute lightning blade. Pretty much just conjuring electricity and discharging it. It's not as powerful as lightning blade, but that's all that he has at his arsenal, really. And he ends up getting messed up, captured. Ryo, the guy who's in charge, they end up learning his name. Ryo is the big man, and his powers pretty much he can harden his arms into steel pretty much and fight that way. So pretty much your typical big strong guy. He ends up breaking Kakashi's index fingers and stuff. And my guy still stays hidden. He ends up jumping out, has a fight with Ryo. It's really cool to see how Guy manages to fight even though he's not really supposed to, but the power of youth, as he would say. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about everything. I'll just give you a broad overlay. But yeah, they get into a fight. Kakashi's captured. He ends up escaping and everything. And here, that woman he ends up running into was, her name is Kaio, which she's actually the sister of Ryo. Or, I think I mixed up the names, I'm sorry. The woman is Kaio, and the man is Ryo. Yes, very, very similar names, just one letter difference. So Kaio ends up being this beautiful woman that Kakashi, you know, fell in love with pretty much. And she's the ice user that Naruto ran in at the beginning, and we learned her story that her son, they were from a smaller land. They were from the Hidden Mist, fled there because it was so bad, you know, back in the day. And living in the land of waves, they were treated as rogue ninja when they just wanted to live their life. And the husband ended up drinking himself to death pretty much. He fell into the ocean and drowned himself, so then it was just her and her boy. Well, her boy ended up defending his friend, his so-called friend, and ended up getting like bee stings all over and stuff, and was left there until Kaio went looking for him. She went to the friend's house, and her mom looked at her like she was like an animal or whatever, even though her son protected his, and they left in there to die pretty much. And since all the doctors were, this was right after the Great Ninja War, so all the doctors were hired by, you know, the big nations, the Land of Fire, the Land of Sand, you know, all that. So there was no doctors around there to heal him, so he ended up dying. So she holds anger towards the greater nations. Well, same with Ryo, because they're brother and sister, so that was Ryo's nephew that died. So they both had an attachment to him. So that's why they hold that grudge against the bigger nations, that it was their fault that no doctors were around to help. Which in a way is true, you know, it's a tough situation. The way they were treated was wrong. But to go to this extent to start killing people and stuff is wrong, you know. It goes against what they're really fighting for. If they want peace for, you know, the land of waves and smaller nations and stuff like that, there's no reason in killing innocents to, you know, get their aim pretty much to get Garyo. It's not worth it. And so things go on, and they end up. There's well, the substance was a blue powder, I think they called it, pretty much an explosive. Ryo ended up secretly, without telling Kaio, planted it within the parachutes at Hozuki Castle. Meanwhile, Konoha ninjas, Sakura, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, and company, everyone pretty much goes to Hozuki Castle to defend because the Tobi Sachimaru is headed there to get Gario, and it's close to the Land of Stone's border, so the Tsuchikage tells Tsunade that if it crosses the border, he will shoot it down, even though, Guy and Kakashi are in there. So the Tsuchikage Onoki, Akatsuchi, and Kurosuchi are waiting on the border. If it crosses, they will be shot down and killed. Guy ends up getting away. They end up, the ship takes damage because of blue powder exploding and stuff. Ryo ends up dying. The ship pretty much breaks apart, and his last words to the Kakashi are, "So there really are ninja like you that exist," and then he plummets to his death, Kaio crying in Kakashi's arms. So they end up getting most of the people away because Kaio ended up freaking out when Ryo ended up admitting that he planted blue powder in, these people's parachutes that he let go, pretty much making them human bombs. That's what the one chapter is called, Human Bomb. And so they end up, Shikamaru and company have to deal with these people coming in on parachutes, having to cut the parachutes off the people before they explode, and, it obviously damages the prison. Prisoners are escaping. They have to chase after them. Panic ensues. They end up keeping Gario contained. Ends up using her mind transfer ninjutsu to, occupy his body so he can't get away. So they end up keeping him withheld. And Kakashi ends up working with Kaio to eventually bring down the burning and barely left Tobi Sachimaru. When they finally touch the ground, they manage to keep it in their airspace so the Tsuchikage doesn't, blow them off. They still had a few survivors left along with Kakashi and Kaio left in the ship. They slowly bring it down, and Kakashi accepts the role of Hokage. Tsunade is there. Pretty much all the characters are, like I said, all the ninja. Well, minus Naruto, because that was a stipulation at the beginning. They said that if Ryo heard that Naruto was anywhere around, he would just kill them all anyway. So everyone did this without Naruto knowing. So pretty much everyone but Naruto is there. Kakashi accepts the position of Hokage, but they're left to deal with Kaio and what they're going to do with her. Obviously, she killed innocent people. She just can't let it go. And in Blood Prison, I forget what happened exactly, but the guy had a jutsu that pretty much if you tried to use jutsu, you'd catch fire and burn. He ended up dying or was left go in the movie. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen Blood Prison. But Hozuki Castle is left without a ruler or warden, whatever you want to say, whatever word you want to use. And they've been switching between the great nations from the Alliance, have been just sending people there to the guard and stuff, so no one's really in charge. It's just kind of a joint operation to keep the prisoners there. Kakashi ends up making it that instead of her having the death penalty, which would normally be just to serve as warden for Hozuki Castle, pretty much a prisoner warden, the ruler there, for life instead of death, to serve for life there, because she can place a jutsu on with her ice. That this happened throughout the story to Kakashi, that she can place it on you, but you can't form ninjutsu, because if you use that chakra to do ninjutsu, the ice will take over. So your body, it's like natural circulation of chakra, keeps that jutsu at bay. So you see what I mean? So therefore, the prisoners have to stay docile. They can't use their chakra to escape or anything, because if they try to mold chakra into some type of ninjutsu, her ice will take them over. So therefore, she can keep them, in line and stuff. So she ends up becoming the warden of Hozuki Castle, and, Kakashi goes back, accepts the role of Hokage and stuff, and the last chapter he ends up getting a letter from her, so they obviously keep in touch. So I would like to think they get together. They obviously they can't really have a normal relationship since he's Hokage, well for now, but she serves a life sentence at Hozuki Castle, so but I do believe he deserves a happy ending and a woman, and this story makes it seem apparent that, you know, he gets with her. And actually in Naruto Storm 4 in the Shikamaru DLC, there's a mission that I did play prior, but you know, this story plays into it that, you know, Kakashi is still keeping in contact with her, sending her gifts and everything, so that's really cool. So this story does many things. It shows Kakashi accepting the role of a Hokage, how he deals without his Sharingan, Guy dealing with how he is now fighting. You know, it had the love interest for Kakashi. I believe there was also... Nah, there wasn't that. I thought there was more love interest things, but there wasn't really in this one. Yeah, just all around molded Kakashi's character and Guy's character around what happened after the war and how they manage without having their powers now. So it was a very nice story. It wasn't over-the-top fights because, you know, they don't have the Sharingan anymore. A guy can't use the gates or anything like that. So it was very cool to see that and learn about that, what they can do, what their abilities extend to now that the war is over and they've lost some power. But yeah, guys, that's it for Kakashi's story, Lightning in the Frozen Sky. Let me know what you guys thought. Are you guys going to read more of the novels? I have, as of this video, and I still have more to read. There's going to be 6 in total, and I have 3 out of that 6. So... alright guys, let me know what you thought of this novel. If you read it, what do you think? If you haven't, go check it out and let me know. So yeah, leave a comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Alright guys, sayonara.